You waited too long, you're coming off like it's a job, lighting up the smile to make me wait too long. Regulators, where's my mister? It's been gone so long, so long. Regulators, where's my mister? It's been gone so long.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming back in, guys. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
So, what's been up?
We've been on the road for the past month. I guess we kind of started at South by Southwest, drove all the way there. That was about 5 weeks ago. Drove all the way back home after we played our show there, and started a 4-week tour that took us all the way straight back down through Austin, and then across the country, all the way up and down the West Coast, and back out across the Midwest, and just got home 2 days ago. So.
Now, was that your first time at South by?
Yes.
How was it?
It was pretty chaotic. There were 2,000 bands, and we were one of them. And so, you're just kind of rushing in downtown Austin to get to your show, and there are like 50 other bands, playing right next door to you, all in the 1 block radius. And it was just really stressful and really chaotic, but the show that we had was really fun.
Now, now touring has become a bigger part of y'all's life now. Y'all have pretty much given up the full-time jobs, and this is it.
Yeah.
We did the whole thing. Some of us, have always kind of had just part-time jobs and jobs that we can come back to. Kurt teaches guitar lessons, and I clean a office building and stuff like that. So things that we're able to leave and, have people cover for us while we're gone or something. But the people in the band with the more serious jobs had to give those up. So it's a big step. We just decided that we wanted to give it a real try for a couple of years and see what happens and see how in debt we can become.
Yeah.
But it's an adventure, it's just something I've always wanted to do, to be full-time with it. And this is the band to do it with, as far as any bands I've been in.
Now, in addition to the prolific touring, you also are recording a lot more now, too, right?
Yeah. Well, we've always, I guess, been recording more than a lot of bands.
But we're kind of kicking it up another notch. We just got back from tour, and then we're here for 3 weeks to kind of scrape some money up for ourselves and take a break. And then we're out to Minneapolis to record another album for a month.
Yeah, a new album just came out last week, a full-length album. And for some reason, we recorded that in November of last year. And so it's very new, it's a lot of new material and stuff. And then we happened to have 12 other songs that we were interested in as well as those 10. And so we were kind of always planning to go make this album up in Minneapolis. And then the other one that just came out kind of happened upon us. And we decided to do 2 instead of just 1. And yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why we do it, but it's just we like enough of what we, a lot of bands will work on songs at band practice and pick and choose, like leave behind a lot of material. And we've done that. There's been a handful of songs that we've tried to toy with and for various reasons have, dropped by the wayside. But last year, we just kind of hit a stride and got about 24 songs that we were like, these could all come out in some form. And we asked our label if we could put out 2 full-length albums, and they were like, that sounds like a great idea. So, yeah, it's awesome to be in a position. I mean, that's what I want to do. I like recording and releasing music, and touring is fun, too. I'm starting to just now come around to the touring part of it. But as a musician, I just want to put out as much music as possible. And I mean, we're talking about starting another side project right now, just to have more output. So, yeah, we're crazy.
So the album that just came out is Preludes, and it was a little more than a year ago. You guys started documenting the recording of an album, but this isn't that album.
Right. It was sort of documenting the writing of the album. It was going to be from the very beginning of right when we stopped, the sort of promotion of the album that came before that. Right when we were like, okay, now we're done with that album. Now we're going to start creating a new thing. And it was we tried to start it the moment we started writing. We had no material saved up for the album that we're going to go record. Like a lot of the stuff on the album Preludes that came out last week was older songs that maybe I'd brought into the band at one point and then we forgot about or something. But a lot of stuff that I had just had and never brought in for maybe the last 6 years or something. And With Vexations, though, the album that we're about to go record, everything was new. Everything was, let's get together in a room and all 5 of us try to write. Maybe it started with like a lick on guitar that I had, but then everyone contributed equally, and that's not exactly how this band has worked in the past. And I think we ended up with our best batch of songs by doing that. And we wanted to sort of show it as it was happening. And I think in some ways we achieved that goal, and we're still doing it. I mean, in different ways. We sort of released a document of us recording Preludes, and we're gonna, we have a flip cam now that James has and he carries around, and we documented stuff on tour, and we're gonna document ourselves in the studio in Minneapolis next month, and just continue the process until it's released and see what happens with it. It's not really for any purpose other than to look back on and say, that's where it started back in January of 2010, and it's gonna end next month, really. So, just to see the evolution. I looked back over some of that recently and heard some stuff that, and some ideas like at band practice that we had filmed, and I was like, oh yeah, that's how that song became what it is now. And I think there's a few fans that'll probably tap into that and be able to like, wow, it's crazy to see the evolution. But it was just kind of a fun, silly thing to try and see how it worked.
Now, you said that Preludes is a lot of songs that are older, but to me that album sounds much more mature than your other releases.
That's probably because before, we had decided to even record those songs, John came to me and said, I have 10 songs that I'd like to release as a solo artist. And then he listed the songs that he wanted to do, and I said, I really like those songs, and I want Destroying It to keep them. So he brought them to band practice, and we tried to find ways to make them us where we are now, not like what John had originally intended for those songs to sound like, but it's definitely very us where we are right now, and it's a good taste of like where we're about to go.
There's a couple of things to it. I think a lot of it, I say a lot of the songs on Preludes I brought in, and they had a verse and a chorus and a bridge and stuff. But it's kind of like my rhythm guitar parts and my melodies and stuff. And when we first started out with this band, I probably wrote a lot more of the stuff. Like I maybe, had a guitar idea for Kurt and a drum beat idea for James. And we still, like Joe might tell James what drum beat he hears, and maybe that's the drum beat the song gets. But it was still more collaborative. So it was everybody doing what they do now, but on songs that have been sitting around kind of on the back burner for, in some cases 6 years. And another thing about it that probably makes it sound maybe more mature is just the production quality. It's the same studio we've always used, but I think the first couple albums sounded kind of weird because I didn't know how to make it. Like I was pitching ideas to the producers. I was like, I wanted to sound like this, and I didn't know how to explain what I wanted, and so it ended up sounding even less like what I wanted in the end. Whereas I think we finally understood what we wanted the band to sound like when we went in to make this record. We basically went the exact opposite as far as the older albums have tons of reverb on the drums. We were trying to make it sound like it's in the stadium, and actually I think all along what I wanted to hear was, you know, much more close mic'd drums and just everything a little more natural sounding, and I just didn't know how to convey what I heard in my head to the people placing the mics and stuff, because I'm just not good at that. but yeah, it worked out in the end, and I think we ended up with the album that we're happiest with, except now we're going to go make another album that I think we're going to be even happier with.
No, Rachel, there's an absolutely gorgeous song that you take front and center on in it. Were you uncomfortable at all taking like this huge lead role in this song?
Performing it, no, but whereas John's a really prolific songwriter, I write maybe one entire song every 6 months to a year. So I had this idea that I was just so nervous to bring to the band. I pulled John aside and played him a little something on the piano, and I said, what do you think we could do with that? And he goes, I don't think that'll be anything. And then a few months later, you know, I played it for him again, and he said, okay, why don't you and I sit down with it and we'll mess around. And then I came up with another part for it, and he came up with a certain melody for it. And so when I brought it to the full band, I was just so nervous to present an idea that was mine and not, you know, like a blend of Joe's and Kurt's and Hep's and John's. And so it was more nerve-wracking to actually write it than to record it. Recording it was just so easy. It's so comfortable in the studio, and we were really well prepared, and we had a good time. So
when I wanted Rachel to be in the band 4 years ago because I wanted her to maybe sing more than me, but at least have us be just 50-50 down the middle, and as far as like who sang lead all the time. And early on, it was not like that at all. It was mostly me, and then it started to gradually get there. And now on the album we're about to go record, it's mostly Rachel with lead vocals, for the most part. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think we want. You know, it's what we're trying to get to. But like she says, she ends up singing a lot of the songs that I write. Like on Preludes, there's a couple of songs where she takes the lead vocal, and it's one of those songs that's 6 years old before I even knew her. But like she says, she only writes 1 or maybe 2 songs a year, and I write like 50. So it's just how it works out. But we want Rachel to sing more and write more, but she just doesn't.
Now, Jason Arthur's filmed a visually stunning video for this song.
Yep.
What was the concept behind it? It was really amazing.
Well, the concept behind the song is that it's basically describing a panic attack. Like, I have panic attacks every now and again, so I wrote about that experience. And what we were going for with the song was just, you know, there's shots of me isolated, and then there's just the weirdest chaos going on around me. There are people with fire and fireworks and people dancing, and the band is far away from me. So it's kind of a video just about things feeling disjointed and like things happening without reason.
But the funny thing is that Jason's so great that I remember specifically we had a lot of meetings where we were like, I have no concept for video. Like, you know, we have, everybody has like silly ideas for let's make this funny music video. That's funny is usually easier on a low budget, and for a rock band music video, I find. But we wanted to do, the songs dark and moody and stuff, and we didn't feel it would be suited for a comical video. And we were all like, you don't want to do the overwrought, silly, just trying too hard thing, but we wanted to have a mood to it, and so we were always like, no concept, but mood was always the idea. But Jason's so great that after we shot all that, I think we went into it, we were just like, yeah, we're going to be playing in a field, and we're going to have fire hoopers, and we're going to have aerialists, but there's no concept. We're just it's going to look neat, that's going to be it. But Jason actually, I think after he went into the editing room, he actually turned it into something. When he first showed me his first edit, I was like, that actually does make sense. It actually does seem like the way he set it up and the way he sequenced the events, it does seem like you're imagining it, and it's only in your head. Yeah.
To be alright and ragged upon.
one's called Blood on Film. It hopefully goes something like this.
She makes me nervous. She like a rotten mirror, super was always true. She bleeds